All right, you guys opened Cardiff in Wales so the Shield and Fandango could helicopter to London for Raw. How hectic is a situation like that where you got to get some talent in, out, and they got somewhere to be? And now we're talking helicopters. That sounds like something, what I would call an extraordinary situation and not something that usually takes place.
Yeah, yeah, that very seldom happened. Now we did have a couple of times have used, flown helicopter people in, but that was great for me because we got to go on first, and then I could just sit around and watch the rest of the matches, and not have to worry about, getting on there. And so interesting thing about the tours you mentioned earlier, Ryan, about the buses and everything. So at this point, um, me and Billy and Randy Orton are kind of butting heads a little bit. And it's just because Randy's the man and he's been the man for a while. And Randy is the last one on the bus and Randy's Randy, you know what I mean? And so I was young in sobriety and I was older in my wrestling. And I thought like, why are we waiting on him? If me and Billy are here, he should be. So that's my ego and my pride talking. Um, and he has the same thing. So he's an alpha with ego and pride too. And so we butted heads a little bit on that tour, but it was after that tour that me and him kind of saw each other and said, "Hey, are we good, man?" And it was, but it didn't help that we worked with some matches in him, and it kind of perpetuated it even in the matches in the execution of the matches, or so I thought. And looking back, it was me being egotistical and thinking he should bow down. You know what I mean? Because, oh, we're the old timers. You gotta bend a little bit. And he was saying, like, no, you bend. And I get it. You know what I mean? Again, we talked when we got back and it was like, we're good, dude. And now Randy and I have actually a great relationship. Where we stay in touch, you know what I mean? It's my dad and his dad, a lot of history together too. So I got a lot in common with Randy, and it just took a minute to get past our egos to realize that, you know.
You were in France in the main event teaming with Randy instead of Sheamus. You guys did the same DQ chair shot finish. How easy is that to just kind of run the same style of match, but replace another competitor into that role, into the different role? And we can roll the footage while we're running. Yep.
Yeah, this is it's not great footage, but it is footage of the finish. The ooh ah, they're gonna do it.
It actually
Uh,
gets crisp and clear right when you come in the ring with that.
yeah, yeah, with that chair. So look, this was what you get the DQ because they weren't huge top guys yet, but they were on their way. And this was just you leave them happy. You get the DQ, so you don't just beat them, but then you leave the people happy, and you Randy hits him with an RKO. And but so it's your question about the match and the execution, slipping different guys in there. It was great because we just kept the same. Once Sheamus didn't have to get in there first anymore, we just kept that same thing where Randy stayed on the apron until the hot tag too. So the difference was Randy you see Randy today on TV and Randy is on fire, bro. He is on fire and I love watching him wrestle. Here, I feel like he was not motivated and he was moving slow. And so we just came from hot tagging Sheamus, which is like opening the barn door and letting the bull come into the kitchen. And then to tagging Randy, where he comes in and kind of smoothly does his stuff. You know what I mean? And so I would have like if like the Randy right now that I'm seeing on TV, if he would have done that stuff, the roof would have blown. Look, the roof still blew off the place. He was Randy friggin' Orton, and he hit an RKO at the end of the night. You know what I mean, on Seth Rollins. So the roof still blew off the place, and he's still awesome. But like it was very different to go from Sheamus
Andrew
to Randy, who is literally, no need to ask. He's a smooth operator. He's so good, man. So good.
So talking about guys working stiff and working a little harder, Randy Orton in a recent interview made a comment that the kids from NXT don't know how to work, and when they come up to Raw or SmackDown, they're not in the ring protecting their opponent, and that they have different priorities. What would you say to something like that?
I don't disagree with him at all. I mean, look for him to say they don't know what they're doing. Like, okay. I mean, I guess you can say that, and he's right to an extent. But they know what they're doing. They just don't do it perfectly yet. You know what I mean? They don't do it as well as you do, Randy. And I don't expect them to, but protecting your opponent, um, look, these young guys get in there and hit each other hard and do stuff because it's not just stiff working. Now it's huge stunts and flips and to the floor and you know what I mean? And it's like, holy mackerel. And so you have to protect yourself and you have to protect your opponent because at the end of the day, it is a work and it is a job. And I have to go home to my wife and children and be able to walk and pick up my grandchildren when I'm at my age. So I totally understand where Randy's coming from. I think Randy is correct. But where else? Sometimes guys go up there really early and they've never worked anywhere before. Some guys started during the pandemic and never worked in front of a live crowd and their character kind of took on. So they're up there now. You know what I mean? And look, I saw Randy literally, on the show talking to those street profits as the match was going on and he was in the ring with them. And I just thought, man, that's so awesome. Randy's teaching these kids as he's having a match with them. It's on the job training. That's how you have to do it because it was a different animal down there. It was more of a wrestling show. And so the tempo was faster, the speed was faster, and the wrestling was more important. On the main roster, though, it's about flamboyance and entertainment. And because it's not all 25-year-old dudes in black t-shirts that watch Raw. Families watch Raw. And so you got to give them these entertainment segments like the wedding segment that happened the other week. And, just you got to hit them with this more colorful entertainment because that's what plays to the bigger audience. You know what I mean? I know people will disagree with that, but that's how I see it. You know what I mean?
Show and having a little bit of something for everyone. Going back
Yeah.
to this hard hitting style though, I received a text a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago from a buddy of mine who I'll call a casual fan, and he was watching back WrestleMania late. And he was just telling me, he's just like, I'm watching slow motion replays where feet are hitting faces and moving body parts. He's like, how do they do it, Smiles? How do they do it?
Yeah.
It's like they're getting their ass.
You just grit your teeth and get kicked in the face. And that's, look, that's the name of the game, man. It's a nature of the beast. It ain't ballet, but it don't have to be real either. There's got to be a happy medium. And that was always my mantra was always the faker, the better.
So the ain't ballet statement, have you ever seen the feet and the toes of the ballet dancers who have to balance on these things and, like, break their bones and manipulate their joints so they can I don't know if it's the right phrase we need to
Yeah,
use.
yeah,
It ain't
yeah. Maybe it's not botany.
it ain't botany, it ain't
Yeah.
fly fishing,